So I'm Todd Galde with CrossCountry Mortgage, and we're going to be talking this morning about the concept of buying before selling. And this is actually a presentation that I used to give extensively prior to COVID, during the end of 2018, all of 2019, and right at the beginning of 2020, helping people understand the benefit, of course, of buying before selling, and the many various ways to do it. And I'm sure that I was quite frankly one of very few that were promoting this message. Today, it's everywhere. And there's advertisements on the radio and online. You know, people really are entrenched in this concept of buying before selling. Many of them wanting to leave California. But many of them wanting to downsize, purchase retirement property and whatnot. So at any rate, a lot of what you're going to see is stuff that I was sharing before COVID, and a lot of this is revived. And this is my very first foray back into presenting buying before selling. So maybe a little rough around the edges, but we will try to polish it up as we go. All right. So I had a big giant photo of a beer with the foam kind of dripping over the edge, but I didn't want to be embarrass myself by drooling all over my. Ooh, did you shut off? Okay, my keyboard. So I minimized it to just a nice little picture of a tap. All right, so real quick, what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about the what, why, who, when, where, and how of buying before selling. What is buying before selling? Most everybody on the call today are agents, so the concept is not new at all. But in its purest form, buying before selling is completing an entire purchase of a new home before listing the current home. So this is not the same as buying and selling at the same time, or overlapping transactions, right? Getting into contract on something else and then having to scurry around to list your current house and sell it really fast, right? This is truly purchasing the next house before even listing the departing residence, and giving you the flexibility to make the transition, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. All right, before we proceed, I want to share a voicemail. This is actually an actual client. That's not her photo. She kind of looks like that, but this is an actual client who we closed a very successful transaction with, buying before selling. And I wanted to share this voicemail with you. As she, honestly, I actually didn't coach her to leave this voicemail. She literally called me and left this message, and it spells out almost every detail of the benefits of buying before selling. So this is Jan.
Hi, Todd. It's Jan and Steve. We want to thank you so much for meeting with us over the weekend. That was really nice of you to rearrange your schedule. But basically, I want to tell you, this is such a relief of mind, knowing that we have this option to secure what we hope is the home that we love. We really are interested in that home. And it takes off the plate the pressure of selling first and then losing the property, and then having to rush around to find a home. Or, well, we really.
Hey, this is Dana. What do you want me to click on?
Because we're like homeless because we sold our.
Hey, Dan, did you get the?
Anyway, the community loan really is a solution for us, and it makes a lot of sense. And I want to thank you that you explained it. In full to us, because it really relieves a lot of the pressure.
I think that's my fault.
It's kind of giving us time to transition to our new home, and yet be able to prepare our current one instead of all the rushing, so we can have it staged and really ready for market at best value. anyway, it's just making the whole complicated dynamics of changing residences so much significantly less stressful. Thank you. I'll be in touch. And again, thanks very much. Bye.
Okay, note to self, for anybody who's going to be giving presentations on Zoom, when you click the screen, it actually stops the recording, or stops the audio. So sorry about that. If anybody wants to hear that, I can email it to them as an MP3 file. But that is actually Jan's story. I will share a little bit more about her story at the very end when we talk about case studies. And I actually, prior to COVID, we closed about 25 buy before selling transactions here in the Bay Area and elsewhere. And so she was one of them.
Hi, Todd.
Oh,
it's Jean.
There we go. Sorry. All right. The why. Why buy before selling? There's several reasons, quite frankly. I'm going to blaze through them pretty quickly. And most of you, as I mentioned, are agents. And so you're very familiar with some of these, but let's highlight them. So first and foremost, and again, for people that are hopping on, we're talking about buying before selling, which is not like crossing transactions. This is truly purchasing the next house before having to even list the departing residence. Preview new homes, right? So when a homeowner is able and qualified and approved to buy before selling, they actually can look for the new home now, and they can begin focusing on just this one transaction, their purchase, without having to worry about the departing residents. And so it's a huge benefit for people. They get to make non-contingent offers in a ultra competitive market. I have a ton of great stories. We just closed one, in fact, for someone who had was making contingent offers, getting declined. They were introduced to my team and I, and the very next transaction that they submitted an offer for, or a listing that they submitted an offer for, was accepted because it was a non-contingent offer, and we were able to close successfully using the buy before sell solution. They can close quickly, but transition slowly, and this is huge. When I was presenting back in the day in front of large groups of realtors, I would have a short 2 or 3 minute vignette of the conversation of a husband and wife at the dinner table discussing the travails, if you will, of having to sell first, and all of the challenges that come along with it, and the inability to transition slowly, right, and peacefully without a buyer, right, at their heels, which is a huge benefit. If necessary, they get to stay in the current home while the new home is being remodeled. We actually have one going on right now where the homeowner was able to purchase before having to sell. They're staying in their departing residence while the new purchase is being renovated. They get to avoid additional interim expenses like temporary housing, pods for storage, or heaven forbid, having to live with in-laws or the children, right? If you're downsizing, for example, and not having to or live in, a hotel. I was actually with a friend last night at their new home here in Blackhawk, having drinks, and they didn't meet me until just recently, so they didn't know they could do this, but they were actually in a hotel for 5 months looking for the house. They sold first, and then they had to wait. And so the wife was very elated to be moving into the new home after 5 months of living in a hotel up in Walnut Creek. And this is the exciting part, because this is not about me. This is not about CrossCountry Mortgage. This is truly about agents and being able to serve their clients with the best possible solutions. When you are able to present this solution to home buyers and homeowners, you get to share the message that after they move right out of their departing residence, you get to stage it, you get to clean it up, polish it up, right? Grandpa Joe's underwear is no longer hanging on the banister, and it is ready for listing at the highest possible resale value. And NAR statistics state that when the home is vacant and fully staged, the resale price is 3 to 7% more than it would have been if it wasn't staged. And I think we can all agree that here in Northern California, that 3 to 7% is probably an understatement, because if you list your home right now with you in it, you're probably looking at 5 to 10 offers maybe. But if it's vacant, fully staged with new furniture, new flooring, and all just totally tricked out, you're probably going to get double that in terms of offers. And then those offers are going to leapfrog each other, and you're going to get considerably more than 3 to 7%. All right, that's the why. Who? There's several categories. There's a lot of people who define and fit into this question of who is buying. Number one, move down. We can help homeowners purchase their retirement property in Northern California or outside, wherever, before having to sell their current home. And this is really beneficial. I've got a case study at the end, which I'll share, and that is this exact same scenario. If they're elderly or if they're physically challenged, having to sell first and then make the transition, live in between, is incredibly challenging and very stressful. And there are a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people here in Northern California who are of retirement age and beyond, who are ready to make this transition, but the anxiety of having to sell first is just causing sleepless nights. And so this is a great solution for those people with tons of equity who would like to make that transition, especially in light of Prop 19 having been approved and rolled out in March, where these homeowners, if you're over the age of 55, you get to move your tax basis with you as long as it's in California. And that's a great benefit financially. All right, we talked about move down. How about move up? Soon to be new parents who've owned their home here in the Bay Area for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They've built up a lot of equity, and now they've got children coming. They've had 2 or 3 kids. They're bursting at the seams, and it's time to buy the new home. And buying before selling is a great way to create an experience for the new family, especially mom and baby, and no pun intended, delivering a smooth and unrushed experience for the family. Lots of good examples of that. How about moving over? People that have been in California for many, many years. We hear all the talk about people exiting the state. Well, we can help them move over to another state or another city in California, making the move right to the new home without having to sell first. And then there's move out. What does that mean? Well, using this unique financing, which we'll talk about at the very end, we're actually able to help divorcing couples, either the departing divorcee, purchase their next home without having to qualify using income or employment, or the parent who is staying in the home, but maybe the spousal support and the child support would not become usable from current guideline requirements. We can actually help them stay in the home by refinancing the home. It's not buying before selling necessarily, but it enables them to do that. And that enables the departing spouse to purchase without having this loan on their books, so to speak. And so they get to qualify. So divorce attorneys is an incredibly huge target market for agents to be able to offer this as a solution. When? Now. There's no better time, right, than right now. Obviously, equity. People have the equity in the homes have appreciated enormously. Is that going to soften? Sure. I personally don't believe it's going to dip and drop considerably, but I think it's going to soften. And so I think over the next 6, 12, 18 months, now is the time to be promoting this, buy before selling opportunity for people. All right, and then the next question is where. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on when, because now's the time, right? Where is buying before selling? So Vicki, here's the slide that I mentioned you would recognize. This is actually a neighborhood in Walnut Creek, right off Ignacio Valley, that I pulled data from And I have a little gold digger here, because for agents, and we'll talk about this on a different presentation, how to utilize the buy before selling message to generate listings and more business. But I have a little gold digger here, because there's gold in them there hills in Walnut Creek and throughout California. What do I mean by that? Well, if you pull data from this particular area in Walnut Creek, there's over 1,100 homes, almost 1,000 are owner occupied. The primary age over 50 is over 700, and then owners with at least 70% of equity, which help the buy before selling aspect move, is almost 400, which represents almost 40% of all homeowners, owner occupied homeowners. Statistically, we've done a ton of data points all over Northern California, and the stats show that around 25 to 50% of any community, homeowners have the ability to buy before selling, meaning they've got tremendous equity in their departing residence that they could tap into to make this move. Okay, last but not least, I told you this was going to be a quick presentation, because I know we all need to move on, but this is actually the most important aspect of this. How is this done? And the important thing, and I need to create some more slides, kind of a comparison. Almost every real estate agency right now is partnering with lenders and hard money or otherwise that are trying to help people leverage this buying before selling message. There's several companies: Reali, Zoom Casa, Homelight, Homeward, Knock. There's probably a dozen others that are using different aspects of financing to help people buy before selling. In almost every case, though, you have to qualify for the opportunity to be approved. You have to have income, you have to have employment, and you've got to qualify for the financing, whether it's a bridge, whether it's cross collateralization. However, some of these actually purchase your departing residence from you for 75% of its value, and they take that cash over to the purchase. You have to qualify for all of that financing. This buy before selling solution, as far as I know, is the only one that doesn't require no income or employment. I actually I call it the 9 loan. I think I could trademark that, right? We're going to try. No income, no employment. And it's the only loan of its kind. I'm not going to get into the how in terms of how we're able to do this, but there's a license called the CDFI license that is years and years old. Once you are approved with that license, you have the ability to deliver mortgages that don't require income or employment for owner-occupied homeowners. There's 3 qualifiers for the 9 loan. One is strong equity. You've got to have 25% down, or at least 25% equity. You've got to have good credit, and you've got to have some reserves, some money on the sideline after closing. When I was presenting before COVID, there's always a group of people that shout out, "Ah, here we go again," right? Thinking that the no income, no employment loan is kind of going back to 2005, 2006, 2007, when we were giving loans away to people for just breathing on a mirror, right? But if you remember, I asked people what 3 things were required or weren't required back then to get a loan. These 3, right? So you could actually get $1 million loan, 100% financing with horrible credit and no money in the bank. And we saw the result. When we were giving these loans to people, it ultimately led to a multi-trillion-dollar financial collapse worldwide. Well, this loan is not that. Okay, you've got to have these 3 qualifying components in order to obtain the financing. And so this is supremely good, clean, makes sense underwriting for owner-occupied financing. Okay, now I'm going to tell a couple case studies. And then we're going to wrap this up for using the 9 loan to help people buy before selling. So I'm going to share really quick 4 stories. Like I said, I've closed 25 to 30 prior to COVID, and we've closed a couple since the product rolled back out in April. Jan is a homeowner who was in San Mateo and had a home that was free and clear except for a $400,000 equity line, which was unused. It was years old, and she had simply not used it. She was retired, living on Social Security and some pension-related income, certainly not enough to qualify for a mortgage in Danville, where she was wanting to move to. She was introduced to me by an agent out of Walnut Creek. We had a conversation, and Jan is actually the audio recording from the very beginning. And we were able to take the equity line, the $400,000 from her departing residence, use that as the 25% down on her purchase in Danville, and close in Danville with no income and no employment. She took her time. Her and Steve took, a month and a half to move all of her stuff to Danville, and then she was able to list her departing residence in San Mateo, completely vacant, fully staged, and of course it sold for way over asking as a result. Shannon is a buyer that we just closed probably about a month ago, who had a condo in Walnut Creek, free and clear. She had gone through a divorce. Her income was non-existent. She was going to become a teacher this fall, but she didn't have the income to do anything right now. And so she wanted to buy, her current home was worth about $850,000, and she was looking to purchase a single family home in the 1.1 range. And making the transition, she actually did not have the 25% down for the purchase. So what we did is we utilized what's called cross-collateralization, where we put a $500,000 lien against her departing residence, and then a $600,000 lien on her purchase, and it effectively became a cash transaction, and able to close in about 14 days. And then she was able to make the move to her new home, and then of course sell her departing residence, which I think closes escrow in the next week or two. Lynn and Ruth are an elderly couple, wonderful couple who I just met about 2 weeks ago, who were looking to purchase, sell their home in San Jose and move to Alamo, what's it called? Alamo Ridge, I think. No, Stone Creek. I'm sorry, Stone Creek Ridge or something like that.
Stone Ridge.
Thank you. Yes. And yeah, Laura, you're familiar, I think, with this, and Lynn. And they were able to get cash out of their home in San Jose, pay cash for the property in Pleasanton, and they're able to make this transition peacefully on their timeline. And then their incredible agents down in the South Bay get to polish up this house. Oops, sorry about that. Get to polish up their house, and stage it the way they know it should be staged, and then sell it for absolute top dollar. It's going to go for a lot more than it would have been if Lynn and Ruth were still in the home. And I think their story, by the way, resonates with thousands of homeowners throughout Northern California and beyond. People that are, of retirement age, and they don't want to have the hassle of selling first. And I think it's just a matter of getting this message to them and enabling them to take advantage of it. And finally, the Lewis family. This is one that I closed before COVID, who owned a home in Santa Clara, and the home was free and clear, probably worth $1.5 million at the time. He was a contractor. They were moving to Idaho, but because he was a contractor, he has no income. And so even if he had 25% down for the home in Boise, they couldn't have approved him for a mortgage because his income was non-existent because he's moving his business to Boise, Idaho. And so nobody would give him a loan. And so we were able to take cash from Santa Clara, similar to what we did with Lynn and Ruth, and they paid cash for their property in Boise. And he shared with me along the way, their whole family took a road trip to go to Boise, and they had the moving van and everything. And they said the peace of mind of being able to do that before having to sell their home in Santa Clara made the trip just so joyous and exciting for the family. And then of course they were able to sell their departing residence in Santa Clara, multiple offers over asking as a result. So that is buying before selling. And I wanted to be able to open it up for questions. Where's the next slide? There we go. So let me see. I'm going to open this up for, let me unmute everybody.